How y'all doing out there? Coming from across the planet, potentially. Maybe just down the street. I don't know where you live, but I know where I am. I'm at the Braille house, and I got a new skateboard to set up. It's my board, my grip, good old grip tape, good old skateboard. Look at this thing. 15-inch wheelbase. It's longer than normal. 9.13 width at the widest point. That's wider than normal. Equal length nose and tail. Okay, you know, you want some consistency there. Equal length, but look, the tail is square and the nose is round, which means even though they're the same length, the tail is bigger. So they're the same length, that the tail takes up more space, okay, than the nose. See, this is very important because I don't want the back of my board to weigh more than the front of my board. Most skateboards have a larger nose than a tail. They have a small tail and a big nose, so that when you ollie, the back of your board's light and it comes up. But I wanted this specific big tail and this specific slightly smaller nose. How do I make that so that it balances in the middle still? Can you see? Can you guess it? It's this curve right here. Woo, this curve. So right here and right here are 9.13. And then it curves into a V to cut out, comes in like this, to cut out some of this back weight. So all this is just missing wood. And now it balances perfectly in the center, opposed to being front heavy or tail heavy. Okay, that explains one part of my shape. And I'm just gonna go stream of consciousness on this. That is the weight distribution aspect of my shape. That is perhaps the most forward-thinking part of my whole board, is thinking about weight distribution. So that the weight distribution is designed for street. I want a middle balance point, so when the board's rotating in the air, it's rotating around the center. Why the heck is it not just totally rounded, right? Like what's that? What's that for? What's all this for, okay? Crazy. The shape itself, the actual curves are designed for freestyle. This right here, and this right here. This is my nose, this is my tail. Nose, tail, but this is my primo nose and my primo tail. So when I'm in primo, I'm all like, woo, woo. You know what I'm saying? So my primo tail is better for flipping this direction, and the nose is specifically designed for going over, like kind of like that. If you want to do a butter flip or something. Now the tip, right here, this nose tip, that is so when you're doing pogos. Sometimes when you do pogos, you don't want to be exactly straight up. You want to have a little slant to it. And that's what that's for, to accommodate for that. Now the square tail, very specific. If you don't have a square tail, you can't do square tail specific things. So this gives you that same truck standness on sharp edges. Just like that. Square tails often square tails will prevent you from popping and being able to kind of rotate your board on an angle. So you want a rounded tail so that it can like kind of hit on an angle. So that's why my square tail is only 4 inches wide. It's only 4 inches, and then it cuts out real sharp. And these kind of wings here create a pocket. So if you have a pen, which I have right here, I'm gonna just draw all over my board because I'm gonna grip over it in a second. So I'm talking about this point right here and this point right here. And now let's say my truck is about right here. Okay? So there's my truck, here are my wheels, and you draw a line, straight line from this corner over. Boom. See, that whole section is gonna rotate when you pop it. I'll finish the drawing here. Forgive my messiness here. So if you pop within this area, it's gonna stay straight. So if you wanna do a frontside shove it or a 360 pop shove it, the way this square tail hits the ground is it's not gonna be very easy for it to start rotating. So if you go in this big middle section, your board's gonna stay relatively flat while it's spinning. But if you step outside this section and you go into these boundaries, oh my gosh, man, then it's gonna pop and you're gonna have this weird pressure point where it's gonna start scooping all sorts of funky ways. And it's just providing you with the gas pedals in order to play with. Up to you. The nose, since it's not square, has one contact point, which is at the tip. And then let's draw the truck line. There's the truck line. So now you have these sections. Boom, science class. If I pop in this triangle, it's gonna stay relatively flat. So this, since it's curved, it has the furthest contact point is singular. This is what your board would look like if I graphed it out. And what this means is, this is your spot where you're stably popping. You can do as many shove-its as you want, 720 shove-it, whatever. And then in these sections, it's a gradient. So it kind of works like, it's kind of like a spectrum. And the further out you are, the more it's gonna flip, and the closer into the triangle, the less it's gonna flip. So this is how pressure points work on your skateboard when you're skating. And my board is designed with all of that in mind. Another thing, there's too many things, man. I can't say them all. But when you start out with a rounded tail, it seems pretty perfect. It's exactly how you want it. And then you start wearing away, and it gets smaller and smaller, and maybe turns square. And you're just like, dang it. It turns from this perfect board into like this board that's kind of falling apart and everything's too disproportionate. This squareness, it starts out rigid, okay? But then when you wear it away, it starts wearing away, and then it becomes round. Oh my gosh, it becomes a normal tail after time. See, this board is made to develop with your development. If you're doing tons of pressure flips, it's gonna get easier and easier and easier to pressure flip every time you try it, or tray flip, or whatever trick you're trying to do. The board will develop into a better shape before it develops into a worse shape because of the sharp corners. Bah! So that's my theory. I built it for longevity. And that's just a little bit about my board. Now let's start setting it up. So I got this grip tape. And people ask me like, Andy, you got your own board. Why would you ride your own grip tape? And the truth is, man, I love the grippiness of this grip tape. Like Powell just does such a good job with all the products they come out with. George is so meticulous on not letting anything he's not proud of get out of the factory. The amount of years that went into making such grippy grip tape with such profound graphics, it was a lot of years, guys. It was a lot of years that went into that. So I personally don't like super grippy grip tape, but I don't like super slick grip tape either. So this is like the perfect in between for me. And usually I rip it straight down, but for some reason I got a vibe for this board. I'm gonna go all over, bro. I'm gonna just do this. Oh, by the way, if you're trying to rip your own grip tape at home, not all grip tape rips. You gotta know. So don't go, like rip off a corner first and see if it rips off a little corner. If that works, then you're pretty much safe. But some grip tapes, it's like the sandpaper and then there's like a weird glue layer underneath. Anyways. When I was a kid, I would go to Skull Skate's skate shop in Vancouver, and they would always set up my board and they say, do you want to rip in it? And I'd be like, yeah, I do. And then they'd rip it so awfully. They just ruined my brand new board. but it was still cool because it was cool guys that did it. And then I thought, you know what? I could just rip my own grip and ruin my own board, and it'll still be cool. It's not actually ruined until I say it is. So one thing about my board is that it's kind of hard to get. There's not too many out there, and people are wondering why they don't make more. Well, what I gotta say is, these are flight decks. These aren't just regular skateboards. So they're made with 5-ply maple and 2-ply of something super secret. Like, I'm talking so secret that they can't let any other company start making it. So with regular skateboards, skateboard companies can outsource to different factories so they can get more made in less time. But the board construction with flight decks is so secretive, they're not willing to outsource it to other factories. So every flight deck is made in-house at the Powell Peralta factory. And come on, that's pretty respectable. So if you're wondering why you haven't got one of these boards yet, it's because they put so much time and effort and love into them. What's so cool about Powell is, like, I just go to the factory and I can meet all the guys who make my board. Like, I'm good friends with a lot of them. And it's just like, yep, I know who pressed this. I know who did the glue. Man, this table's just rickety. That's the real family vibe of Powell. It's totally a family. It's such a lovely company. I'm so glad to be part of it. You guys know Hefty Cole? He's like viral on TikTok for doing grip tape videos. He films people putting on grip tape, and it's like ASMR, skateboarding.
You're a fan?
Yeah, he rides for Powell.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, I skate with him all the time.
I've seen Christopher Hite.
Yeah.
Grip job.
Yeah. They live in the same house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Funny.
Chris lives at Cole's house. So sick, dude. Yeah, more and more people are doing grip art again. Yeah, like when I was growing up, it was just Hippie Mike. Hippie Mike was the only guy I knew that did grip art, and he would not set up a board without it. That's what influenced me to do it as a kid. Man, one day I'm gonna post all my old grip art boards. It's so funny you guys call me the wizard, because I have all these boards. Like, I have a wizard series. Like when I was a kid I used to go all out with the scissors and like cut out mosaics and do like big wizards and stuff. I've probably talked about this before. Trying to keep that even spacing. Man, this is just looking good. The other night I just had this feeling I needed to rip it up like this. And even today I'm like, no, it's not my thing. I always rip it vertically on the right side, like since I was a little kid. But not this board. This board's getting its own job. Oh yeah, this is looking so good. Don't know if you know this, but the guy who drew the Ripper, the original Powell Peralta Ripper, like, he left Powell in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and he didn't come back for a long time, but right before I got on Powell, he came back, and I'm like unbelievably blessed to get the opportunity to have a piece of artwork done by him. His name is Vernon Court Johnson. Call him Court. Court for short. And if you get the chance to meet him, he'll be one of the most interesting people you've ever met. If you're blessed enough to get blessed by his grace, he's out of this world, man.
I saw the whole video you did with him, where you guys were talking about the design and stuff like that. It was so sick.
Dude, so sick. He's such a legit dude. I just don't know how much I can even say about him, because it's just so cool. Okay, let's see how this is looking. Bam! You can't even see the rips from there. and we watch the shape appear. Screwdriver's 2 tools. Screwdriver and a board file. Okay, this is where the knife comes in handy. If you've never cut grip tape before, here's a couple tips. You want to cut away from yourself, always. And you want to cut with the blade under the grip so that you're not cutting onto the sandpaper. That'll ruin your blade much faster. Kind of like a 45-degree angle. And if you just get that perfect angle, it'll just smoothly glide the whole way. Boom! Ba-da-bop, 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 ba-da-bop. Pretty hyped. It's looking good, dude. I'm stoked on that so far. Okay, now here's the really long, lame part. This takes about as long as the whole rest of the video, and that is putting these things on. A lot of people don't know how to put these on, or they ask me how to. Well, the best way to do it is to read the instructions. But if you don't have instructions, here's some of my personalized instructions. First, open bag of screws. No, but here's some do's and don'ts, okay? Here's what you don't want to do when you're putting on rails, is step all over your old grip tape that you just threw on the ground. The worst thing you could possibly do is put in this screw and then this screw and then fill in the middle, because what that's going to do is it's going to cause a bubble, and then it's just going to bubble up and rattle like crazy. I highly recommend starting at one side and then traveling down to the other side. One thing you really got to be careful of is where your trucks and wheels are going to be. So let's find these hardware holes. Where are they? Man, it's hard to see. This graphic's so good. Covered up all the holes. So with my 15-inch wheelbase, I still barely am able to squeeze it within the holes. Do you guys have any stickers by chance? I have a couple, but these are more important stickers. I don't want to. You got any throwaway laps? So you got stickers or tape or whatever. I recommend finding that perfect spot where you want them, and to put them on before your trucks are on, because it can get really tough. It can get really tough putting them on after your trucks are on. Not impossibly tough though. Thank you. Some Braille Army stickers for the win. So this is going to take some precision here. Number one thing with putting in rails, do not use an electric drill. Unless your dad's a carpenter and he's got like the super soft setting, high-tech electric drill. This is a hand screw type of deal, and that's what makes this such a long process is, I don't know, it's like making coffee in the morning or something. It's the same with the grip art. You're spending more time with your board before you're even riding it. It's just connection. Okay, I'm trying to line it up with these holes here. I usually use the other rail for this. So I'm putting my other rail across the two lowest hardware holes. I'm trying to line it up here. Dang, that's pretty good. I'm like 1 millimeter off. That's a good first try. Placement's really important, because if one of these rails ends up under your wheel, that's just like wheel bite freaking mania.
Do you place your rails more in or more out?
You know what, I'm doing a mix. So, that's a good question though. You can place your rails in a bunch of different spaces depending on what you're trying to learn. So if you want your rails right on the edge, why would you put them right on the edge like that? For grabs. So with the right on the edge, it's just going to be the nicest thing ever for you to grab. It's just like having a bar on the side of your board. What you got to be careful is sometimes the rail isn't as tall as your concave. So if you're going to be doing board slides, you want to make sure that you can see no board between the rails there, which is true with this. The Powell rails are actually pretty tall, so that's not usually an issue. If you put your rails in, like how I'm putting them, or let's do the exact exaggeration. You put them right near the middle like that. If your rail's in like that, it's not going to help you with grabs at all. Your fingers are just going to go there. What this is for is when you're doing board slides, it gives you, if you're in a board slide, you can lean up on it like that. So if it's further out, it's harder to lean up on, but you could lean further. And when you lean like that, you can twist and get into different grinds. So you see me do like board slide to feeble or lip to Smith. I use my rails. You don't have to use rails to do those tricks, but they do help. So I lined up this one pretty good. Just line up this other one. Or I'm just going to start screwing this one in. And then I'll see you in half an hour when I'm done. Ricky found the screw.
Ready?
That's a lot of work. Here, I got you on the light.
All right, it's ready.
Yeah, let's go.
My man. Thank you. So if I put my rail right over these holes, you can see how much space I got right there, just millimeter. On this one, gotta move it. That's close enough. Yeah, so this is really important for me to put in a video because I just want you to see how hard this really is. Like, if you're not having fun at home putting on your rails or whatever, it's because, well, it's not the easiest thing to do. It's an art. It takes a long time to figure out your own techniques. So normally I would put my rails in a little bit more, but this season of my life, I'm trying to learn more grabs than I am grinds, believe it or not. There's a bunch of fun things you can do with rails, because depending on how you put them on changes your whole board. So for example, if your rails are really far out, it might kick flip a little slower. Or if you put like two rails right in the center, all the weight would be in the center of the board, so it might flip faster. Or you could have your rails out in a bow like that. They could be bowed out. And then since the board is curved like this, the further out it'd be slightly lower. So if you actually like bent your rails, if you actually bent your rail like that, can you see that? You actually bent your rail like that and put it on, like this part and this part, like the edges would be higher than the middle. So when you're board sliding, it would actually like pull the rail into the center of the board. Like there's just a bunch of fun, funky things you can experiment with. I know back in the 80s, they used to melt their rails, like skaters like Kevin Staub. He'd melt his rails and then bond it to another rail. And then they'd just have like one big plastic rail that went around their entire board. Kevin Staub was telling me he did that back in the day. So funny. It's just another extension of like accessories and art, right? Like, so before wood screws in rails, they had what they called sex nuts or T-nuts. And you would have to You'd have to drill a hole through your board in every spot, and the hole would go all the way through, and then you'd put a little like socket in from this side, and then you'd bolt it in from the other side. The positive of that is it would never rattle. It would never come loose. The wood screws are a little bit weaker, but the downside is it takes extra tools. You can't just do it with a screwdriver. Now you'd need a drill and a drill bit and all that. But if you think that companies should bring back T-bolts, leave it in the comments below. I think they should.
Here's the mini bones, the mini ribs.
Oh yeah, those would have the T-nuts. If they're ancient like that. Those look ancient, eh?
Yeah.
I feel like it takes a crazy amount of pressure to penetrate the board, but then you don't need any pressure. So what I like to do is I like to get it to about this stage where it's got like a little gap in there, so I can still fit something underneath it. And that way I just let it sit, do the other one, and then I come back and tighten them all. Because if I try to tighten them all the first time, it gets like inconsistent and confusing. If I was being super serious about it, I would do this where there's a little space, if I had all day. Then I would take them all out and then sand it out, because when you screw it in, it kind of spits out little pieces of wood. So I'd put them all 3/4 of the way in, take them all out, and then sand the little holes flat, and then put them in perfect. That's like, if you got the time to do it and you want your rails to be perfect, that's how I suggested it. Screw it 3/4, take them off, sand it, and then go all in with the hand screwdriver. Nothing worse than stripping a screw on your rail, because then it either rattles or you have to like bend your rail all weird to fit around the hole. Let's hope that doesn't happen here, but it very well might. See, now I don't have a second rail to measure, so I need like something like a ruler. So the first rail always looks good because, well, there's only one. It's the second rail that's a real challenge, because now you have to match the first one. The first one you kind of do whatever you want with. Okay, what distance? I'm looking at the graphic now. The graphic's not totally symmetrical, so I'm looking at the graphic to match up. But mainly I'm looking at this space. This space between here and there and that space. Here and there and that space. Hope you understood what I meant. It's a matter of millimeters here, guys. Matter of millimeters. That's Canadian talk. Metric. You got millimeters in the States? No.
No, only for wheels.
Only for wheels. Inches for boards and millimeters for wheels. Yeah, that looks pretty equal. Double check down here. Yeah, that's looking good. So remember, my board is longer than most boards. So on a regular board, it might line up perfectly. I'm not sure. I haven't put rails on a regular board since I was like 13. I've been skating rails since I was about 12. I just loved them. Even before I knew about old school skating. I just thought it was so smart, like, I don't know. So again, this time around, I'm not looking for the most perfect screwed in screws. I'm just looking for placement. So I want to make sure the rail's in the right place and I don't have to move it later. My mom gave me this screwdriver for Christmas like 3 years ago. Pretty cute. It came in a whole set like that. And then you put this in, there's like a whole bunch of different pieces. But I just stopped carrying around the set, just got the one now. It's a good memory of Mom. Motherly love is the most powerful thing known to man. This is the first board I've set up in a while where I don't have like a million stickers on it. I should probably put at least one sticker on. I got 2 dope ones I've been saving for a long time.
Oh, that mini logo bag is sick.
Oh yeah, the mini logo bag's legit, dude. I got all my pens and Got my skate sauce wax and everything in here. But I got Use Your Skull with PD himself skating some hill by UBC. Or just High Energy Sports, PD's Hot Shop. Yeah, that's the one, dude. Or Use Your Skull's so sick though. No, this is the one. And then it just says Andy. That's perfect. Sneak this in before the rail's on. I want it to be under the rail, actually. If you don't know, PD's Hot Shop. It's the best skate shop in the world. Oldest skate shop in Canada. Started the same year that Powell did. And just like Powell, it's got the same owner, PD. PD's the man. The most hardcore guys in the country I come from. Okay. I'm gonna do what I told you earlier. I'm gonna take them all out, sand it, and then put them all in just so they're perfect.
You sand down the rail?
No, I sand down, you'll see in a second. Because when I screw it in, it spits up little pieces of wood.
Oh yeah, the little hills.
Yeah.
Of like dirt, and then you can like see gaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah, so it's like got these little, it's all lifted. So you get little grip tape scrap.
I'm sure if you saw my board, like, you would see the hills on like each one.
Yeah, yeah. So you just,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
you just get that wood spit out of there, right? It takes so much work to get it in, and then to get it out, it's like just 2 little turns. But the hard work's already done. The hard work is over with. We got the rail in the right place. Okay, let's get rid of this spit. Now look at this. Don't you wish putting on rails was this easy? You just put it on like this. Oh, wow. Yeah, let's just put it in. Oh, wow, that all lines up so perfectly. Yeah. This is how I dream putting on rails would be like. Oh, that feels so good. You just feel it hit flesh. So put my foot on it so it doesn't rotate, and then my foot under it so it doesn't rotate. Just doing Caspers. Yeah, you gotta be really careful not to overturn. Better to leave a little space. And if it starts rattling, a lot of the rattle will be, you tighten it up, and if you didn't sand a little spit, sometimes the spit will fall out, and then it'll create a gap and rattle, and then you can tighten it up after. Dang, that's pretty good.
Wow.
These 3 have the slightest little air gap. I'm just gonna do like a little quarter turn on all of them.
What is this?
This right here, good question. It's, you're looking at it sideways if the base of the camera is over there. That's a VCJ, Vernon Court Johnson.
Oh, that's sick. What a cool way to have your signature.
Yeah, he does it slightly different on all the graphics. So if you see a little geometric shape on a Powell logo, usually it's centered at the bottom. Sometimes it's hidden on the side. Vernon Court Johnson. Most people don't know his first name. Oh, dude, what is up on my knees today? Skating in Fremont yesterday. Don't know if you could tell, I split my chin open. So I got this freaking Band-Aid on. So good. Try not to like lift up my neck too much today, so I can heal up. First time I split my chin open, I was in Barcelona, and this random dude I met at Macba, it's like famous skate spot over there. He was like some sketchy dude, but I was like 14 and interested in talking to strangers. And he took me all around, and he showed me these super sick spots, dude. And then there's this one spot at the W Hotel in Barcelona. It's like a really famous spot, but it's the first time I was there, so I didn't recognize it. It's the same spot. They have like these big white banks. Anyways, there's a giant double set. Nobody's skated it. It's like 14 stairs, flat 12 stairs. It's not really jumpable, but I was trying to hit the flat, like just push on the flat and then board slide the last 12. And like, I was like, okay, I got it. Super small run up and just sacked the rail and landed on my chin. It was just like sack, aluminum rail, and chin on the ground. And this stranger, weird dude that I just met was like, oh, yo, bro, like, you good? Like, I'll help you find a first aid tent. So he like walked with me down the beach and we found this first aid tent. And then the guy at the tent was like, you want me to call an ambulance and then maybe you'll get stitches in like 6 hours? Or do you want me to just try to stitch it up right here? And I was like, yeah, just try to stitch it up right here.
Oh my gosh.
So this random lifeguard stitched up my chin on the beach in Barcelona. And then I'm like 14 or 15 and like my chin's just bleeding like crazy and I'm like a mile away from my hotel. My phone died or something and I was like half an hour late for getting back for curfew. And I'm walking through the street and I have my shirt off because I like need it to stop the bleeding. And I'm skating down the middle of the median. I was on that median where that crazy dude drove over all the people.
Oh.
Like a couple years ago. That's where I was coming up. I was staying on that street. And I'm walking up or I'm skating up and the cops are chasing me. They're like, hey! And I just like pretended I didn't notice them. And they're yelling at me and running after me in Barcelona. And I'm like, what's going on, right? So I just keep going. I figure that they don't want me skateboarding. So after a while, I picked up my board and just started walking. Because I figured that's what they were talking about. And they're like, they finally catch up with me and they're like, it's illegal to have your shirt off here. And I, oh, what? And I was like, I had my shirt off for the bleeding on my chin. Like, what's more illegal, to have my shirt off or to be dripping blood all over the streets? And apparently the shirt off. So they made me put my shirt back on.
Wow.
And then I was just dripping blood all through the streets until I got home. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty funny experience.
Yeah, and when I came home, my parents were like, what happened? Yeah, that was my first time in Barcelona. Rails!
Only takes 40 minutes.
Yeah, but hey, there they are. And they're on, and they're flesh, and they're good. No rattle. Boom. Oh, closer to the edge. Get that. Or like some of that. Maybe in some of that. Oh, what was the trick I was talking about? It's like the front crook. That grab, bro. Okay. That's the grip tape, the rails, the deck, PD's Hot Shop sticker. Now we're getting more specific here. Wheels. People ask me all the time, what wheels do you ride? What wheels do you ride? And you know what? It depends. These are 56 millimeter wide cut V. It's like a V5, but it's wide, so it's like a V6, I guess, shape. SPF, skate park formula, which means it's like 104A, it's like 84B. Dude, I could go into like wheels forever. Like just the A scale in general. Like you know how people say wheels are 99A or 100A? The A scale is BS. The A scale is only relevant if you're working in less than 99. So 97, 95, like for longboarders, A scale makes sense. But in the scale, 100 means infinitely hard. So 100 is like harder than a stone, harder than steel, like diamond. Diamond would be a... So 101 was a marketing technique to say that it's harder than this other company's wheel that's marketed as infinitely hard. So I could be wrong, but I feel like Bones made the first 101s. And then now it's just got so out of hand that they started using the B scale, which is far more accurate when we're talking about between 99 and 100 ratios. So these are 84B, and for the A scale, that would be plus 20, so 84B is like 104A, which isn't an actual number.
So it's harder.
Yeah, much harder.
Oh.
84B is dramatically harder than 100A. In skateboarding, 100A is infinitely hard in real life. Like my dad works with hardwood flooring, and they use the A scale for urethane, and so they use the B scale for urethane in flooring because the A scale is flawed at 99 up.
So what did your dad think when he heard of 101A?
He was just like, he probably thought it was something else. He just thought it was skate lingo or something. But here's something cool I learned recently, is that the wider your wheels are, potentially, the slipperier they can be.
Oh.
So what happens with a wheel is when you're rolling, right? Obviously you're rolling. When you're turning, the wider it is, like a portion of the wheel is sliding when you're turning. So if you have like a coin or like something sharp, very, very little of it is sliding. But the wider something is, like this lighter, when it spins, like you can see how much of it's sliding. It's going to get scratches. So just the mere act of turning, it's already sliding. So the wider the wheel, the more percentage of the wheel's sliding just with natural turning. I feel like I'm saying the same thing 100 different ways, 100 times, but point is, when you're turning, your wheel's already sliding, so it's easier to initiate slides. So even with your grippier wheel, if it's wider, it can slide better, which is a trip.
So the wide cuts slide.
The wide cuts slide a bit better. Even though, so Bones is backwards. Bones breaks all the rules. George, in particular, breaks all the rules. You think, okay, so you have a soft wheel is grippy, right? And a hard wheel is slippery, right? Not the case, dude. These are the hardest wheels Powell makes. They are not the slickest wheels Powell makes. The 99s, the Street Tech Formula 99s are dramatically more slippery. So when you're dealing with Bones, you got to get that out of your brain. Harder does not mean slipperier. Like, it's all individual formulas. George twisted it so that everything's tailored. Because you don't want a slippy wheel in a bowl. You want grip. You want a slippy wheel on the street. So you have a grippy wheel and it's a little bit wider, so it slides a little bit better. Dude, these layers on top of each other to make the most perfect potential artifacts to ride is insane. That's why I love Bones. That's why I love Powell. Because George loves it. He focuses all his energy on it. Okay, riser pads, look at these. These are just like old stock pieces of pile of trash risers. But I like them because of the material. And then, dude, going for the Bones big balls.
Oh yeah, I love those. They're blue, right?
Yeah, they are blue. But the reason they are called big balls is because they literally have big balls. Literally.
Less balls, but big.
Less balls, but bigger. So if you don't know much about bearings, you'll be surprised to know that there's 7 balls in a regular bearing, and there's 6 in these. So I don't know if you're into sacred geometry, but the 6, like, come on, the flower of life, you connect those, it makes a cube. Like, it's just a dope. I love that too, when the middle's spinning, but the balls don't spin as fast as the center. I don't know if you've ever dissected a bearing, but I'm doing it for you. I had one homie, I was like, yeah, dude, it's like the flower of life because it's got this 6 instead of 7. And then he went out and bought some just for that reason. Oh, yeah, so they're bigger balls, right? So the more balls you have, you got to think, the more balls, the more friction. So less balls, less friction. There's an idea behind everything with Powell. It's not ever just a marketing tool. Ever. It's always some crazy next level stuff.
Why do you think they made the bigger balls blue?
I think because of blue balls, maybe?
We'll cut that out.
No, but I don't know. I wonder whose decision that was. Wasn't George's. Like, George just focuses on making the best product. The color, I don't care. You know what I mean? Color's all marketing. I like marketing, but I'd rather have the best product that's not marketed well rather than a well-marketed product that sucks.
Bronson rods were impossible to put in those wheels.
Really?
Could barely fit them in.
Really? Different size?
I guess so, or something. I don't know, but they were so hard to put in.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never messed around with Bronson. Oh, that looks so sick. But I'm going to do it this way so you can see the ball.
Oh, that's sick.
I don't necessarily recommend having it shieldless. The thing about having it shieldless is that it accepts dirt, but it also spits out dirt. But it also accepts dirt. So the problem isn't necessarily that there's dirt caught in there, is that the dirt gets in between the ball and the ring, and then it'll dent the ball, and then your balls get flat spotted. And then your bearing sucks. So even after the dirt comes out, if your ball's still flat spotted, it's not going to want to spin. Just everything I'm saying is just what I think I know. I might not know anything, and I'm willing to accept that. As long as you can take what I'm saying and not go, oh my gosh, Andy knows everything, and I'm not going to do any of my own research because I can just listen to him talk. Do your own research. Prove me wrong, please. Such a great noise, fresh bearings. So one thing about these trucks that you may not know, or I'll get into that in a second. Mini logo trucks. I ride mini logo trucks, guys. That is the truck that I ride. Why? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, the most important reason why I ride mini logo trucks is because they're slightly innovated. Okay? Every truck's the freaking same. It's just cut straight across, and then you have to make grooves so you can lock into your stuff. Before I rode for Mini Logo, I rode for Gullwing. I rode for Gullwing because they have the Pro 3 truck, which had the dip in the middle, so you could lock into your grinds there. I grew up thinking that was what I wanted, but then turns out I don't like grinding in the middle. Okay, here's a weird story for you. 50-50 grinds are normally done on heel side on one truck and toe side on the other. Usually heel side on the back truck, toe side on the front truck. But before all of that, like fully locked in stuff, people would actually do them in the middle of their truck. And this is pre-50-50. At this point, it was still called a monorail. So the Gullwings were designed for the monorail, which is where you would just go straight through the middle of your truck. And some street skaters still do it. Like I heard Shane O'Neill does grind like 5-0s in the middle. I've seen Jamie Thomas do it. Like Jamie Thomas would like hit steep handrails like that. But if you watch Jamie Foy or follow Das Pinch, you know that grinding in the middle is asking to slip to one side or the other. So just make up your mind early and choose a side. Oh, sorry, Gullwing trucks. They're designed for the monorail. This truck is designed the exact opposite. It's got an arc right here. So, everybody hates new trucks because they have to make new grooves. Well, look at this. It's already got it doesn't look like there's a groove there, but you're gonna get pulled over to the sides, in which case it doesn't take any getting used to. It just pulls you over and then you work on your grooves. Like, I don't understand why truck companies don't do that. And that's why I love mini logo trucks, is because they're not afraid to experiment.
Yeah, I read Ace trucks and they're completely straight.
Yeah. Well, like, I feel like the attitude with trucks is it works, so don't fix it. And it's just like, can't wait till that's not the attitude with trucks. Just my opinion. My humble opinion.
I love what they did back in the 80s when they were just like experimenting with trucks and they would have like these vampire wing trucks and stuff like that. It's so weird.
Oh yeah, dude. Vampire wing trucks. You talk about the creepers?
Yeah.
The creepers was an invention by the guy, his name's Donald, who owns Grind King.
Oh.
Dude, Donald from Grind King, frick, I hope his name's Donald. That's what I remember it being. But the guy from Grind King invented so many things that he also sadly got ripped off on a lot of them. But he invented so many things that I wanted as a kid. He invented those nuts that look like rims. So like they would have like the metal rims, so you'd have like, it would look like gold over your bearings.
Sick.
And it would keep dirt out. And then he also invented these I forget what they're called. It's like one, instead of 4 pieces of hardware, it'd be 2 pieces of hardware, and they were like bridge tops or something. I can't remember. Can you picture what I'm saying? It's like 2 prongs and they go in like that.
Yeah, so they hold across?
So they hold across, so you don't need the screwdriver. You just need to tighten from the bottom. Oh. But what happened, bridge bolts.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. They go straight over like that.
Yeah.
They look like zip ties almost.
Yeah, but you know what happened? Some companies made knockoff versions before his came out, and then everybody was sending him the ones that were breaking that he didn't even make.
Dang.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just man. Some people just have beautiful minds, and a lot of good ideas get out there. Gotta do your research, guys. Do your research. Make sure everything I said was true. So much goes into these skateboards. Oh, I got a cool story. Did you know that the Powell Peralta graphic with the skull and the sword, like that, is perhaps the first ever graphic on a skateboard?
Oh, really?
Yeah, before that, brands would just put their name of their brand and like how long the board was or whatever on the board in like some cool font. And George Powell had this friend, Vernon Court Johnson, and he was like, man, this guy's such an amazing artist. I really want to hire him on, but I don't know like what to do. Like, I guess he could just draw something for Ray Bones Rodriguez. Like, Ray Bones is coming out with a new board. Why don't you draw a graphic for that? And George bought him a skeleton, like a skeleton thing that hangs. Dude, guess what? Every skateboard's got a graphic now. Like, and that's the same guy who came back and drew my graphic. Like it's just so, I'm so blessed to be a part of Powell, and I'm so blessed to just have people like that in my life, dude. Like, but perhaps the first skateboard graphic ever, the guy who drew the first skateboard graphic ever, made that graphic. And it's just, I just can't, I want to cry, man. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, the skeleton with the sword, like holding the sword, and that was like probably like one of my favorite graphics too.
You know what? He pulled the skeleton with the sword, he pulled that graphic from ancient like mythology, and it's like a symbol that represents higher education, like education above what the average person can get, which is kind of the education that you guys give here at Braille. Man. So many great people and so many great things. Like, some people like to carry things in their pockets, like me. I like to carry things or wear things that remind me of specific times. And like, I'm just so blessed that my board is such an item that I'm just carrying it around, and it reminds me of all these awesome people in my life. Bones went all out in creating the hardcore series. So bushings can make or break your truck. And often stock bushings aren't the most ideal. These ones are really good. These stock bushings are really good, but I've recently been experimenting a lot. And oh my gosh, I hope I have what I need. No, I was worried. Oh, geez. Okay, plan B. That's what I used to do. Bottom bushing, mini logo. I'll tell you what I was doing. It's kind of expensive, but I've been doing 2 bottom bushings. Bottom bushing and then bottom bushing on top. And they're the hard ones, and that keeps my truck super tight because I like tight trucks. I'm gonna take them for my old board. So what I used to do is, I just bottom bushing stock, top bushing bones.
So one of the guys here, Andrew, he uses a Thunder hanger and then an Indy base plate, but his kingpin sat too low, I guess. So what he did was he screwed in the middle and it's sitting like on the screw. So like the kingpin is higher. So weird.
Yeah, some people know what they want and then they go get it. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh, bro. This one friend, Brendan Sohar. Shout out to Brendan Sohar, man. He's a little messed up mentally, but he had some great ideas back in the day. He used to be a really good photographer too. But this one time I saw him, I was on the bus. Oh, this is a rough story. I was on the bus to North Surrey. I was going to Hippie Mike's skate shop, Authentic. If you're wondering why my name's Authentic Andy Anderson, it's because Hippie Mike had a skate shop called Authentic, and he like pushed me into getting an Instagram account and helped me start it. So he was like, call it the shop and then your name, Authentic Andy Anderson. So that's where that name comes from. But I was on my way to Authentic and I was just taking the bus through the ghetto in Surrey, and frickin' lo and behold, Brendan Sohar rolls up. Oh my gosh. And he's got like this big cast on because some dude just beat him up and he can't, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're in the street too much, you screw someone over, so they're just gonna get like baseball bat to your leg, right? So he's like all like messed up with like some cast he found in the dumpster. And he hops on the bus and he kneels and like screams out the window like, oh man, like just like this random girl, like he gets on, it's all quiet bus. And he like gets on a chair and goes out the window and says, I want to marry you! Just like at a random girl. And then like sits down. And I'm telling the guy next to me, I'm like, yo, dude, this guy right here, this guy used to be a famous photographer for Concrete Powder magazine, you know? Like, this guy's legit. And so he does that, I want to marry you, out the window. And he turns to me and he goes, Andy, what's up, man? Like, he just made himself obviously the weirdest, loudest person on the bus. And the next thing he says is, what's up, Andy? And I'm like, oh man, what's up? How you doing? And then the guy that I just explained to him who he used to be before he kind of got messed up a little bit, he goes, Brendan, like it's his friend. I just told him his name 2 seconds ago. He's like, Brendan, what happened to you, man? And I was like, no, bro. And Brendan's like, I don't even know this guy, you know? Like, it's just, it was so awkward. And Brendan's like, yo, where are you going, Andy? Where are you going? And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to Authentic. I'm going to go meet up with Hippie Mike, right? He's like, okay. Oh, I'll go there too. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to bring him into the shop, and then it's going to be like a big scene and all this. So I took the train, and he didn't have enough money for the train, so he like limped over from the last bus stop. And then I get to the shop before he gets there, so I can warn everybody. Like, Hippie Mike, Brendan's coming in. And Hippie's like, Brendan, I love Brendan. Like, Brendan's my favorite. I was like, okay, sick. Okay, awesome. I'm not in trouble then. And he comes in, and Hippie's like, Brendan, like, how have you been? I haven't seen you in so long. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. But all that's building up to this next thing I'm about to tell you is Brendan came at me, dude. He's like, we're in the shop, and he's like, Andy, give me your board right now. And he like takes my board, and he starts undoing my trucks. And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And he's like, wheel bite? Never heard of it. You don't need wheel bite. Wheel bite sucks. I don't want wheel bite. You want wheel bite? We don't want wheel bite, dude. I'm like, okay, like, what are you on about? And he's like, split washers, man. Like split washers. Like, I don't know if you know split washers, but regular washer like is like kind of like this. And a split washer has a little break in it, and it's lifted. And it's like a it's kind of a thing for sealing instead of nylock on screws. Like you press it and it's kind of like, because it's kind of like a spring, when you press down on it, it like holds the, like, okay dude, split washers, no wheel bite, I don't know what you're getting at. And he's like, put your top bushing on the bottom and then put a split washer in there. And then, or maybe it was, no, it was bottom bushing, split washer, hanger, top bushing. And I'm just, like, it was some weird thing that didn't make any sense. And he was like all dirty and he had like this crazy long crescent wrench and was like, I was like, okay dude, just give me back my board when you're done, right? And he set it up. And dude, I couldn't get wheel bite afterwards. Wow. Like it was legit. Like he was saying it all like, but it was for real. And what was happening with my truck was like, it was top bushing on the bottom and then a split washer. And then what was happening was this part was dramatically closer to that part. So this is called the hanger and this is the base plate. So this gap was dramatically smaller. So when the wheel started to turn, like it started to go over, the black part would hit the silver part and stop it from going any further. Because there was like a smaller bushing. I don't think it had anything to do with the split washer. Like I don't know if he knew why it worked, but he knew that it worked. And I was like, wow, that's totally when I started really getting good at one-wheel wheelies. But it torques your kingpin. It's not a good long-term fix, but I was just little magic moments like that from Brendan are just so worth everything else. Okay, so what I'm doing here, 2 bottom bushings. And that is, and they are the hard ones. And that's just so I can get super tight trucks. That's just, I like super tight trucks, man. That's just me. 2 bottom bushings. I've only been doing this for like maybe a month or 2. So I don't know if it's the best thing to do, but it's what I'm doing. Experimentation, right? Experimentation. Rocking the Vulcan bolts hardware from Vancouver, Canada. Classic Allen key. But I got that fat top. I love that fat top. Yeah, the fat top. You know, hardware is one of those things that I feel like could really get a facelift. Like a big innovation in hardware. This could be a hard one. Like they have the hammer ends and then bridge bolts, but like you want it to be flesh, you don't want it to stick up. Could be stronger, could be lighter, but like I guess it's just one of those things that there's just not too many problems with it to begin with. Shout out to Dennis Regan from Vulcan. Really appreciate it. I love throwing in the little street stories, man.
I love it.
It's just like, this board really is an artifact to me, you know what I mean? It's really something that, and it's such a shame to like let go of old ones, but it's just part of it, right? What I think is really cool about skateboards is like you can put so much energy into one board and you're just like, oh, this is the board, this is the one. And then you get a new board and you carry all the tricks you learned on that last board to the new board. And it's like the life-death thing. I don't know, it's not like, I'm going way too far down the rabbit hole here, but it's not like reincarnation because it's a different board, but it's continuing the same story. Like it all could have just been one board. You know what I mean? It just changes form. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, it makes sense. You know, you're passing down all this like experience and knowledge and like this life that you built with this board and passing it on to another one. It's just crazy. Yeah, because that's exactly what that's it, right? And then if you like work at it I've worked at it for so long and I met all the right people that lined me up so that now my board is like actually my board. And like all the different people's boards I had to ride, like all the Steve Olson boards and Dwayne Peters boards, and just like,
all the different, it's so funny, all the pro boards I rode were all 80s pros. I never rode like a chocolate board or something.
Yeah.
It was always like, I don't even know. I said what I could. Oh, I have a spiel. Here's my spiel on Bones and Powell products, okay? How do the wheels not flat spot? Like when you're doing a power slide, you think like, what is the difference between a wheel that flat spots and slides and a wheel that doesn't flat spot, right? And you think about a big old gummy wheel. You know when you try to slide, it kind of like skips. So it's kind of like a wave, and its wavelength is too slow to catch up. And you think about a nice hard wheel, and it's like, you know, it makes that noise. It's like a higher pitch vibration. So the secret to making these wheels not flat spot is to have them at a higher rebound, which means they can literally vibrate at higher frequencies. So if they're not vibrating, then they're grabbing the ground, right? So my whole thing is like, the flight deck is louder. When you smack it, when I go like this to clap for people, sometimes I'm like, my ear, it's like loud. And the tighter, the way the wood is laid, it also vibrates on a higher frequency. So literally, Bones wheels and flight decks work on a higher frequency than other products. These wheels and this board is functioning on a higher vibration, which sounds all airy-fairy, but it's like actually scientific.
I've never seen someone set up a board in such depth and detail.
Oh, dude, like, I just put so much into all my boards. It just means so much to me.
Yeah, because you're gonna have it for a while.
Yeah, and like, you never know what tricks I'm gonna learn on this board, and like, yeah, I'm a very slow person. Or in depth, perhaps is a better word. What's that?
Detail-oriented.
Detail-oriented, yes, detail-oriented. That's what's so funny about board design and product design is like, the mentality is, okay, this board could make you a better skateboarder, but the other side of the token is, can't you just do that on any board? Like, you guys prove that all the time, that you could ride a guitar with wheels or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. But it does matter, but it doesn't matter, but it does matter. It comes down to high intensity situations like competition, when it really, really matters. That like the tiny little things make a big difference. Like I asked Chris Cole why he wears tight pants, because I wear loose pants for leg mobility. And he says for peripheral vision. Like to be able to look through your legs when you need to. And it's like, that's the level of detail that I want to get to one day. Ooh, it's almost done. 1, 2. Yo, I'm hyped. Can't wait to skate it now. Oh, that sounds wrong. There we go. Oh yeah. Give all these a little loosening. That's good. This is my board set up for, oh man, this is a trip, because I want to say this is for bold competition, but if it was for bold competition, this would probably be like 58 millimeter instead of 56. So this is my board for whatever date it is. The 1st of April. Dude, this is my April Fool's board. What? Dude, this board's gonna be a joke. Wonder if it'll like break or something, like something that it can't do. That's funny. Here. just snap it.
All this time.
Okay, well that's my board setup. Hope you liked it. I'm gonna skate it now. Oh, that's so fast. Yo, this actually feels so good. Oh, frontside flip. First tee. Muska style. Got greedy. Woo, peace out.
Introducing Braille Army Plus. Members get 10% off all skate gear, full access to the Braille Army Plus app, all skateboarding made simple volumes, exclusive videos not shown anywhere else, early access to all limited product drops, access to our members-only Discord, where Aaron and the team can chat with you and answer your questions.
Shout out to you if you watched all that. Almost like a podcast. Hang out with Andy Anderson, hear some stories, learn about all the intricate details of his board. So thank you for tuning in. There are some videos right there. Subscribe, like, leave a comment below. Let us know crazy things you want to see us do. We want you to learn how to skateboard. We have everything you need. BrailleSkateboarding.com. Yeah.